out there in the Pearls-verse.
Pearls Nation.
Pearls Nation, who up?
Pearls gang, rise up.
We are here recording Dialectics After Dark number 3, to be released in December, correct?
No,
No,
November.
it's
This
this
is
month.
November edition. We're just late.
All right, so to be released,
Ethan's gonna have to edit like super fast.
to be released
I'm on
this
Thanksgiving
month.
break.
This is also our first episode with one of our amazing patrons, Martin. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And I guess we're just going to go around and we're going to introduce ourselves and say what beer we're drinking. So I'm Taylor, a.k.a. Tanky McTankface, and I am drinking a Fremont Mod Pod India Pale Ale.
And I am Jeremy. In the Discord chat, I'm Jezza Steele, and I'm drinking Smithix. It's an Irish red ale.
All right, I am Justin, which is Justin PRT in the Discord, and I'm drinking Anderson Valley Hopheiser, which is an American pale ale, which is not an India pale ale, as I found out with false advertising.
Low energy APA.
Sad.
Low energy Piatakov. This is Piatakov's beer.
I'm Hyder Mohammed. I'm drinking beer Lao, and I don't have anything ironic to say.
I'm Ethan at Utopologist, and I'm drinking a Beehive Honey Wheat, which is from Bristol Brewing, here in Colorado Springs, actually.
All right, and Martin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a La Colverte Cidre Classic, which is an Italian cider that has never seen Italy.
No, I'm sure not.
It's only sold in Poland.
Chef Kissy Face. So before we start, we want to just thank our sponsors for this episode, which is actually our patrons. It's not anything funny. It's actually something really wholesome. We want to thank everybody who actually believes in this goofy shit that we do.
Yeah.
I'm actually Jeff Bezos.
He came on. Come on,
thanks,
Pod.
thanks, Mr. Bezos. We appreciate your presence. Yeah, so thanks so much to, I mean, you're all listening to this, I'm assuming, so.
And what's the name of the segment? Now we got a name.
Oh, yeah, we got a name for this segment. So we're gonna read headlines from around the world, and we're gonna shoot or smack some communism straight into your dome. This is The Pick.
It sounds like a rock radio station. You're listening to
confess-
95.7 The Pick.
I have to confess, your Nordic crowd is gonna find this very funny because, yeah, that's a euphemism for penis.
Good.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
We're really good at stuff like that.
It makes the
thanks.
Trotsky.
It's literally like saying the penis.
It makes the Trotsky story sound way funnier.
All right, so we've gone through a couple of headlines that just didn't get recorded on our radio, so.
They did, and then Justin deleted them.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit some other headlines here, and we're gonna talk about them. So this is a fun op-ed from today's New York Times, and it says the dangerous naivete of Trump and Xi. The United States and China may be on a collision course, yet their presidents each underestimate the pain the other could inflict.
Incredible.
It's
All right,
it's international relations and Dr. Phil at the same time.
I just think you're underestimating the pain that you can inflict on someone else.
Now, what you gotta do is,
So, I mean, do we have any assumptions as to what said pain might be? We're not going to read this garbage, but...
I hope they work
Growing
through
pains.
it.
oh, by the way, this brings me to all the corporate speak. So I spent like 15 years in corporate America, like working bullshit jobs, and the worst, absolutely the worst phrase, because there's synergy, and let's put a pin in that, and stuff like that. It's all awful, but the worst one is business pain.
What?
Business pain.
That's
it's like
not a thing.
It is a
Are
thing.
you-
Business
oh my
business
God.
pain, and what it refers to is an issue within your business which is causing it to be less efficient
Oh, no.
or a bottleneck, or they call it business pain. It's the worst. It causes me physical pain when I hear
That's
the phrase
terrible.
business.
So
That's enough my
is
anxiety.
business pain?
Business pain
what-
is the pain that they're talking about.
Is that the pain they're talking
That's
about?
the only thing that anyone at the New York Times gives a shit about.
That
They don't
feel
care
when
about
business
anything
hurts.
else.
Well, all I know is that my president, Xi Jinping, is out
Nothing
there.
but respect for my
Yeah,
president.
nothing but my respect. No, yeah.
Thank you.
But
What
look, but this is very look. What's good for us is on the left is like as appalling and as horrible as Trump is, right? I mean, it tells you how bad the other presidents have been because even being the grand great twerp that he is, Trump, he's still able to get closer to China than anyone else before him has. And while he wants to do sanctions, while he wants to do this, and while he wants to do that, it tells you how bad the other guys are. Look,
And all he had to do was eat chocolate cake.
exactly. Yeah.
He's running America like a business.
Yeah.
President deals.
President deals.
He is. I mean, he's showing up just how controlled the last 4 decades have been.
Yeah.
Everyone they've shown up has not strayed from the script, not even a tiny little bit, including Jimmy Carter.
He tried though, because he didn't know shit about politics.
Well, I mean, that's been the condition. That's been the condition to be a president. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
So I mean, because you
got to be inept.
From Carter, you went to Reagan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what we forget. From Carter to Reagan.
Oh no, I just had that image of Carter doing the three-way handshake.
Ew.
All right, well let's talk a little bit more about American politics.
The best politics.
Oh, jeez, we're killing the game.
American exceptionalism.
This op-ed is called "Democrats Don't Procrastinate on America's Health. If lawmakers hope to build on the Affordable Care Act and fix its flaws, they have to get to work now."
What do you mean they... What? Now? What the fuck are you talking about?
These motherfuckers had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency for 2 full years, and they didn't try to pass the Affordable Care Act then. They waited till the Republicans had control of the House to pass it because they didn't want to do it, quote unquote, right. They wanted to be able to blame the Republicans for the fuck ups.
They didn't want to win. That's the whole thing with the Democrats is they want to be stymied at every options, and so that they can say like, listen, we tried.
Yeah,
like,
we
with
did
the
our
Republicans,
best.
We were
had
trying
to compromise.
Yeah.
They are paid to lose. You've got the Harlem Globetrotters in the Republicans, and I don't know the name of the teams who lose, but that's the Democrats.
The Cubs, I think.
That's baseball, but who cares?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can I just quickly say
I was off base.
I just want to say something very to the international listeners, because there's something that will weird you out. When you go to the doctor here in the USA, to see your doctor, you have to have your credit card out. I'm not kidding. I mean, for those of you, exactly.
We're all sitting here like, is that
repeat
they
that.
don't do
normal.
that elsewhere?
One more time, right? If you go to the doctor and you don't have your credit card with you, you're not seeing the doctor.
Yeah.
Now, to the Americans, that's normal. To the rest of the world, enjoy that one. Right?
There's not a lot with Americans that's normal.
No, but nobody else has ever had to take a credit card out to see a doctor.
No.
That's never happened.
That's-
I have I have some experience with private hospitals, and they're wild, man.
Yeah.
You know, they like in some of them, the one I went to anyway, they had a private one-person elevator
What?
for the head doctor.
Holy fuck! That's some next
And
level shit.
it only goes to 3 floors. The parking lot,
That's like
the lobby, and the floor that he works on.
Oh my god!
that's like Victorian levels of like inequality.
No,
like
that's like a fucking
opulence.
Ayn Rand hero building their
Yeah.
like business, where it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
and
are
so
you
like
ready for
there'll
the struggle
be
session though, because this was in China.
Oh no! President
Yikes.
Xi, delete this account.
all right, thanks for tuning in. We're cutting his mic.
We're having some audio problems.
Martin, you're breaking up.
Gotta catch my flight back to China.
All right, so this next headline, this next
fucking
op-ed. I don't even know if we're even going to get to any headlines. These opinion pieces are just so fucking bad.
That's how it.
So we
that's
have
how
to
it
go
has
through
been the
all of
last
them.
couple. Okay, good.
So this is the psychology of political polarization. Our country is divided, but science suggests the rift is less severe than it seems.
Okay, what is it about the last episode in the New York Times? They had another article about we're not actually that divided. What is going on? Why are they trying to do this?
We're not that divided because fucking Democrats and Republicans really aren't that different.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
obviously they want to make it seem like that, but when somebody actually points out, no, we're all pretty similar because we all have the same fucking shitty ideology, then at least they're saying something that might be kind of true.
I mean. Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, that's probably part of it. But I think another part is trying to push everybody into the center, trying to advocate for centrist values, we're reaching across the aisle, things we can both agree on, which is bombing the Middle East and racism,
Yeah, but no, I mean nobody's been pushing for bipartisanship in the last 3-4 years at the very. I mean, the only
Nancy
person...
Pelosi is. No, literally.
Well, Nancy Pelosi, as a capitalist who says it's that way and you got to deal with it, wants to hang out with other capitalists.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it just tells you the Republicans have to have okayed Nancy Pelosi. That's really what happened. They okayed her. We're okay with her. And the Democrats, if you're okay with her, then we're okay with her.
There's the it's like the America. No, the America is a one-party state.
Oh, from Julius Nyerere?
Yes, yeah. America's a one-party state, but in typical American extravagance, they have two.
Two parties.
Called out.
The dialectics are in motion. So we'll have one party, but we'll also have two.
Yeah, it's one party. They're just divided into two. Yeah.
Hegelian synthesis of political parties.
Ooh.
Exactly.
All right, so it looks like I got one more op-ed here, and then there's one actual headline that I want to hit up. But this headline or this op-ed is America is blaming pregnant women for their own deaths. What is it like to face dying during childbirth in the richest country in the world in the 21st century?
Dude, death to America.
Yeah, death to America.
What was it that you say to our... What is it that you say to everybody on Discord? Don't say anything that you don't want to be brought up during the trial.
Listen to this.
Oh,
America is blaming pregnant women for their own deaths. What kind of a fucking society
and here's the thing
in?
is, again, we're not going to go into this article and read about it, but we can guarantee that we know...
Let's go to the last paragraph.
What's your conclusion?
Look, wealthy white women are not dying because of childbirth, right? So, we have an understanding that, this is an issue. It's happening in the U.S., which is fucked up in and of itself. But then if you think about who's actually suffering from it, it's not the people that are reading the fucking New York Times, And that's the frustrating part, is that there's this system where that this is overwhelmingly going to be homeless women or women of color or just disenfranchised women in general that are dying.
Working class women.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that, you know what? I'm glad that this is an op-ed and that somebody's talking about it, but, what's going to be done from a New York Times op-ed read by a bunch of people who are just oh yeah, that's real sad, but I got to get to the Hamptons this weekend with my 3 kids.
He's also sent a submarine that people can have their babies
No, that's
on.
Musk. Musk sends something.
Musk will send a submarine.
And then he'll call you a pedophile because you won't want to use it.
Okay, I'm going to have to speak to the international listeners very quickly here. So one thing that will weird you out if you're not an American here is how big charities are in the USA.
Yeah.
So it's $350 billion. How much the charity economy is in the USA? $350 billion.
Yeah.
Right. And not only have they not solved homelessness, they've managed to make it worse.
Yeah.
It's a very odd thing here in the USA where the the state doesn't want to come in, so then the idea is, private citizens will jump in and they'll save the day. Well, we've got $350 billion worth of charity.
Yeah.
What is it that we can't solve with $350 billion? That's kind of what the
much money.
That's
It's
kind
a
of what the
poverty
American
mindset.
state. It's kind of what the American state has. For instance, we could pay for everybody's college tuition and still have $250 billion left every single year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But see, there's literally no way to cure problems in the USA, because the cure, like charities, for the problem of the state is really only a way to hire more middle class people to do more middle management jobs, and working class people still to be screwed over at the lowest minimum wage. And here's the kicker: if you work for the charities, you're not allowed to even tip them if they help you lift stuff or what have you.
Yeah.
So are you saying that free market capitalism, that the invisible hand is not actually efficient? That there's this lack of efficiency?
No, but what's weird is, like, I thought that the charity economy might be 50 billion, 40 billion, right? It's 350 billion, right?
Wow, yeah.
So they
Well,
won. They won.
You know why that is? It's because every grocery store, every big box store, every clothing store that you go into, when you whenever you check out, they say, "Would you like to donate to this and such charity?"
Yeah.
Every fucking one of them.
Yeah. And so you give the money, but what happens is that's not your donation. That's their donation, which means they get to deduct it from their fucking taxes.
Right. Yeah, but so look, this is the weird thing. This is another giveaway. You have the state and the private economy both telling you to give to charity, right? Because it's not about helping people, right? Yeah. There's something. It's an economy. It's a huge
but it's hard.
economy.
Like when you go to PetSmart and they're like, "Would you like to help a homeless pet?" You're like,
spend $1 for homeless animals.
I do want to help a homeless.
I say screw the pet. I do.
Yeah.
I hold the pet.
This might be a good time, as someone who's not not endorsed views by the podcast. You can actually fund people fighting in Ukraine on GoFundMe.
Oh my god!
I mean, no, that's a charity. Well, that's what do you think our Patreon money's going towards?
That's cool and all, but is it tax deductible?
JK FBI.
Oh my god! Have you seen this guy though? There's a guy. I don't know what the fuck his screen name was, but he's like taking money from Kickstarter. He's creating like fake Kickstarters saying, "Give me money to buy weapons."
What?
in Ukraine?
And just keep fighting the Azov battalion.
Oh my gosh!
Holy shit!
Wow.
And he's from Texas.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Rootin' tootin'.
Texas gang.
Yeah. All those
Rise
Texas
up.
listeners.
Man. He's great though. He doesn't seem to realize that like the Donetsk Free Republic isn't a great place.
Yeah.
But
Sad.
I mean, whatever.
All right, so I said that we had two more, or an opinion piece and then an actual article left, but there was just one more opinion piece that's too fucking ridiculous.
Just can't stop.
So this one is, Et tu, Jim Mattis?
Oh my god.
The defense secretary is the best of this administration, but even the best stumbles.
Mad Dog James Mattis.
I love how it's like...
They only give a shit because he's from the military. That's all.
How do you phrase it like that?
Because
what does some of it say?
Oh man, let's...
Can we talk for a second while he's doing that about the fact that liberals were rallying for fucking Jeff Sessions?
Oh my god.
The racist judge.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, if I have to stand up for Jeff Sessions, it's bad.
Yeah, stop standing up, you
Then
fuck.
don't! That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to do.
Imagine being a liberal in 2018. Like, just imagine
It's
it.
wild.
Just like envision in your head.
And the thing is, the right
You lost to a guy that put his toddler on the air to build a wall.
You lost to a dead guy.
dead man.
A dead man. A dead pimp. A dead pimp.
Yes.
You lost to a dead pimp.
reality show pimp.
Yes, dead reality show pimp. Well done.
Also, check out our new band. No, so this
What were you going to say about the Republicans?
I forgot.
We do this to hide our life.
this article actually gets into something really absurd right now. So this is going to be an extended section, but this is just wild.
We're outside of Barstow.
Well, something bad happened to General Mattis. On Wednesday, he traveled to southernmost Texas to visit those troops. I guess earlier in the thing it was talking about.
The troops that Trump sent to the fucking border wall for like 3 months before this thing's supposed. So they're just camping for like.
Yeah. So
they're called the Einsatzgruppe, right?
Oh,
basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the trip was a good and necessary thing. President Trump, for all his lip service to venerating the military, doesn't go out of his way to mingle with or pay tribute to servicemen and servicewomen.
Sad.
He's not supporting the
He's
troops.
just disrespecting them.
Somebody has to
Critical
make
support
them.
for Donald Trump.
Somebody has to make them feel appreciated and important. Wow!
What?
Oh my god! This is this article, right? That was Mattis's noble goal. He was trying to assure them that that if they missed Thanksgiving, it wouldn't be for naught.
Oh my god, this is like the playbook from Fox News.
No.
No, this is the paper of
the
record, New York
troops-
Times.
The troops, founding fathers.
Democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's
That's Washington Post. We'll
Okay,
get there. We'll
guys,
get there.
this is gonna get
Okay,
pretty
okay.
wild.
Oh,
Sorry.
it did already? Okay.
Oh
We're
no,
already
it's
in
just
a
gonna
dark
get worse.
Mattis defended war criminals, just so we know.
Yeah.
Mattis is a
Oh
war
no,
criminal.
Mattis is a fucking horrible person. He's a war criminal. He defended war criminals. Fuck Mattis. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna.
But who wrote this? They're a big
we'll
fan.
find out. We'll find out after we
Name and
finish
shame
this
at the
section.
end, okay?
So yeah, he was trying to assure them that if they missed Thanksgiving, it wouldn't be for naught. But that wasn't doable without dabbling in deception, because the propping up of this president requires it. In Mattis's case, it required Pancho Villa.
What?
Okay, that's one of the worst sentences I've ever seen. Okay, 3 different forms of alliteration. Doing and dabble, go away. What is this kid? This guy is annoying. What a...
No,
All
but
right.
that you record Pancho
We try
Villa.
that
Galaxy
sentence
Brain.
one more time, please. I
Pancho
enjoyed it.
Pancho Villa was a Mexican revolutionary who,
Oh.
along with hundreds of armed followers, attacked an American border town, burning houses and killing people before retreating back into Mexico, where President Woodrow Wilson ordered him to be pursued.
Critical support for Pancho Villa.
No, full support.
Full
Yeah.
support. That's
support.
true. That's true.
Mattis revisited that episode in remarks to reporters on his way to Texas. I think many of you are aware that President Wilson, 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, deployed the U.S. Army to the southwest border, he said. The threat then was Pancho Villa's troops, a revolutionary raiding across the border into the United States, New Mexico, in 1916.
It's just like that.
Yeah,
Actually.
just like
I like
It's like the
how
same
a bunch
thing.
of refugees like
Actually-
trying to like live are the same as somebody, but also fucking who cares? Texas belonged to Mexico, New Mexico belonged
exactly.
to Mexico, Arizona,
Okay.
California, Colorado, that all belonged to Mexico, and the
Make
United
Texas
States
Mexico
fucking
again.
Stole it.
But can I just say, if this isn't like Poncho Villa, this is like the Alamo.
And that it was fought
because-
to preserve white supremacy.
Well, because in the Alamo,
that's
John
what the
Wayne.
Alamo is about.
Because in the Alamo, John Wayne
cat.
dies at the end. So his fingers crossed.
Oh god.
Maybe.
all
I
right,
can see
so
the behind the scenes
fuck.
where someone drops the wheelbarrow.
Oh man. So that article, that op-ed was by Frank Bruni.
Oh, he wrote the Bloomberg 2020 article a couple
what a
episodes
piece
ago.
of shit.
What a dumbass.
What a dick.
Fuck this guy.
What a dickhead.
All right.
Come on,
Should we go to
Pearl
WAPO next?
Oh,
Debate
we
me.
could go to WAPO, but
Yeah.
there's one here that I want to talk about really quickly. That's an actual article and not just an op-ed. It's talking about some really fucked up shit. Tests showed children were exposed to lead. The official response: challenge the tests.
Oh, okay.
For at least 2 decades, the New York City Housing Authority routinely disputed tests that revealed lead in its apartments. Private landlords almost never do this.
What? Okay. So the first half I was like, oh man, yeah, no, of course they challenge the test because people are idiots. But no, they're trying to make this a pro-privatization. Fuck!
privatization. Yeah.
Fuck the New York Times. God damn.
They're amazing. They're amazing, New York Times. They do more damage on the inside than anybody can do on the outside. They're just
It's
chipping
great.
on the way away. Just destruction
Yeah.
after destruction.
Yeah.
If we didn't have the freedom of the press, I don't know. What we would have.
Hey,
A lot
Yeah,
of problems.
there's no such thing as freedom of the press. Like I know
Oh,
this
come
has
on.
like been a
I read it on New York Times.
like it's fucking stupid.
fifth estate.
It's literally the fifth estate. Fuck off. Ugh.
The protection of the Grey Lady.
All right, so we pulled up the Washington Post here to see if we can find any more garbage out of the headlines. Why bring a bone saw to a kidnapping, Your Highness?
Oh god.
is this
The fucking
about
Saudi
What?
Arabia?
the Saudi
thing.
Arabia?
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia thing. The fucking
Huh?
the American. He's fuck. What's his name?
Khashoggi?
George.
What?
George. Not
Wait, who?
American?
The
No,
journalist?
the journalist who
Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Khashoggi.
No, he wasn't
Martin
American,
just
though.
said
He
that.
was-
He
He was Turkish.
Yes, but he was.
No, he was
He
Iranian.
wrote for the
Wasn't he?
Washington Post.
He's-
But yeah, you know, he was a
he has
Washington Post.
residency in the
Okay.
U.S. He has residency in the U.S.
Oh, he does? Oh,
That's the
okay.
only reason anybody gives a shit. It's the
He
only
was a
reason.
very important person. Please don't demean him.
Yeah.
Well,
He was much more important than the 9 million Yemeni.
Yes,
babies.
exactly.
well, and I think
People
what it
starving
is
to
because
death.
he's a journalist, so the journalists at the Washington Post are just like, this is the worst
No,
thing.
okay. But there's something interesting going on. We all agree. I mean, this is overblown. This story,
Yeah.
right? But the question is, why overblow it, and who is it that's doing the overblowing?
It's not MBS. We know that because he has no idea why this was a big story.
No, but so look, it looks like this is a story that makes the Americans look bad, right? But they somehow, like the Western media, somehow still seems to be pursuing this, right? It makes Trump look bad. It makes the American regime look bad. It makes the British.
I think they wanted to, at least in the beginning. It seemed like they wanted to make Erdogan look bad.
Yeah, exactly. But why are
Right.
they still pushing it now? It should have been stopped, ended a while ago. But they're still pushing it.
Just squish the story.
Yeah, it
yeah,
is
well,
kind of strange.
I mean, I do think it is because it is a journalist.
Journalist, yeah.
And journalists feel extra.
Journalists have been killed now in over 1,000. You never hear about any of them being killed. Believe me, nobody cares.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
Jenner.
where was the fucking one where the U.S. tank fired on the hotel?
There was 200 journalists
Oh.
that died during apartheid. Nobody gave a
And
shit.
listen,
Well, yeah.
and the USA continually shoots at. Forget about Israel. The USA literally aims and shoots at
Yeah.
journalist
Yeah.
targets again and again.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah.
And do you know how many people who work for Reuters died in the Afghanistan and Iraq war,
Yeah.
still dying to this day?
Yeah.
Nobody cares about journalists. There's something odd about this story, and the only thing that's odd is I can't figure out who does well out of this story. Like why do they keep having it out?
Is it Erdogan? Because that is a huge thing. Like Putin supports Erdogan, and therefore
But this is a story about Saudi Arabia more than Erdogan.
I don't know.
And also, Putin and Erdogan had a falling out recently.
Yeah.
I mean, Erdogan,
So,
you
well,
can't
it
get
is
along with him
Probably
for
good
more
because
than a day or
Erdogan's a
two.
piece of shit.
Well, yeah.
You
well,
never know with
they all are.
Erdogan. One day and then the next day it changes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He'll be in an art museum one day.
It is weird. It is a weird one. I'm not 100% sure why.
That's
No, because now it's going on for so long, it's clear that somebody's gaining something out.
Yeah.
This isn't a mistake.
Who is it? I don't know.
I don't know this one. Yeah.
But
Jeff-
yeah,
Jeff Bezos
but
for the
it's
clicks.
the annoying part is the fact that
I know who, guys.
Who?
It's gotta be Jeremy Corbyn. Anti-Semitism.
yeah.
Oh man.
No, but
Somehow.
but the whole fucking the fact that Saudi Arabia is killing millions of people in Yemen, not an issue at all. One fucking journalist, and it's you can't even.
Yeah. No, it's super strange.
I don't know.
All right,
It
so
is weird.
before we
X-Files.
get into
Insert
the
X-Files theme.
before we get into the mailbag, there's one last WAPO op-ed that we got to talk about just because the fucking headline is wild. The supreme test of Nancy Pelosi's wizardry.
Oh, this is Taylor's favorite.
Combining
What
his
what
two,
house do you think?
no,
she
combining his
Oh,
two favorite
oh,
things:
sorry.
Harry Potter and
What
Democratic
house is
politics.
Nancy Pelosi? Gryffindor. Yeah, so all right. Nancy Pelosi's a fucking wizard. And,
What does the article say?
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Nobody cares.
The bottom line, despite these problems,
Just that she's awesome, basically.
Yeah.
most in
Okay.
the party keep coming back to Pelosi as the right leader for the moment. This is one reason she has been able to rally so many endorsements from activist groups that might in other
Hang on.
circumstances be a part of an insurgency.
What?
He is a right leader.
You're a wizard, Nancy.
You know,
That was terrible.
look, I've just said, look. The only thing that can keep us.
You're a wizard, Nancy. It's awful.
It was terrible. I apologize.
The only thing that can sustain us during these dark days is that one day an article will appear on Pelosi in the New York Times, but this one will appear right in the middle of the paper. Otherwise known as the obituary.
Print media's dying. None of us have touched a newspaper.
But I always
Will it have the Hogwarts GIF form? Their
Yes.
newspapers.
Yeah. Exactly.
They come in GIFs.
I always used to start reading the paper from the obituary section. Huh?
Huh.
That was always started off my day on a good note. Like Churchill's son just died.
Churchill's son.
I only read The Economist, so I don't know.
That's another form of obituary. But
That's true.
That feel one too intelligent.
All right, so I guess at this point we want to do some mailbag stuff. All right, here we go. We're gonna answer questions that y'all are sending us. Question from Spectre of Rodchenko.
That's who we're
shout out.
talking to.
That's me.
So we'll answer it directly to you.
Oh, why? Oh, did you change your
My
name?
very sly attempt at changing account names has immediately backfired.
Called out.
All right, so Martin here asked, so why did you guys turn to Marxism-Leninism?
Oh, man.
Who wants to start? I mean, I don't...
Hider.
just reality. That's what will do to you. I mean, where else were you going to turn to? I didn't have any other option.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Ethan, aka utopologist.
Yeah. Well, I had it seems like a sort of a common trajectory in that I was like right libertarian for a little bit, then I was a liberal, then I was a soc dem.
Gross.
I know, I've gotten better. And then through soc dem, and then just like reading and looking at actually existing socialism in the world and the result that it's had, I was like, well, what do these all have in common? They were Marxist-Leninist revolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor? Just because I asked it, like I feel like I should be fair, since you just volunteered that information, Ethan. Just to say that I have also a very gross past on this.
Shameful past.
Trotskyist.
Like, you can be so privileged that you can think that you can just be apolitical
Yeah.
and just say like, oh, I'm just a hedonist.
Oh, yikes.
Oh man.
Right? Everybody's like,
Yikes.
read Epicurus and be like, oh, that's me.
Oh my god. Yeah, so Tanky McTankface Taylor. I kind of followed the same trajectory as Ethan, like right libertarian, Ayn Rand loving asshole in high school. I think a lot of it had to do with, like, I moved to Canada right after high school and just kind of saw that, like, social safety nets and, like, taking care of people around you is not a bad thing. And that was, like, kind of pushing me towards this liberal, like, NDP, like, kind of Bernie-crat style person. And then when I moved back was right around the 2016 election. It was as things were ramping up, so in 2015, and I was like, oh, this Bernie Sanders dude is awesome. And then a friend got me a subscription to Jacobin that year.
Gabe.
Taylor became a CIA agent.
Became a trot.
I mean, look,
Same
as
thing.
shitty as the whole thing can be, there are actually some pretty good, like, opinion pieces or, like, side pieces that get brought in that kind of shit on what Jacobin does as a whole.
Yeah, if only they would pay them.
Oh, dude, yeah. No, so, but, like, it was those pieces that started kind of radicalizing me, and I think for me, the one leader that I was really, like, looking at and was still alive and active at the time was Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
And just kind of learning about the struggle to liberate Cuba, and that he was still alive, and, you know, that Raul was still kicking, and, like, the revolutionary fervor within Cuba was still going. I started reading more into it, and that's when I pick up the manifesto, and then you start reading about Marx, and it wasn't until I think, like, right after the election, and then Castro dies, and it was just like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And I just started reading as much Lenin and Marx and Engels and Stalin as I could, and you know, I didn't go anywhere near shit like the Bread Book, and and all it did was it just kind of reinforced, like, when these people materially analyze the world around them and the history that has led to that point, and they haven't been proven wrong in the fucking 150 years since they died, I can't dispute that. I don't think anybody can dispute that, you know? And so Marxism-Leninism just kind of came as a natural progression of materialist ideology and observing the fucked up nature of the world around us, and just, like, being empathetic in a sense. Like, you have to care about the people around you and not just, like, your family or whatever. Like, humans are...
Oh, the gulags were empathetic.
But yeah, I don't know. That was kind of my journey.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like, that's a really good answer, and like what you said about Jacobin speaks very personally to me, because the IMT does have a pretty big presence here, and the sort of events that they do, like they do kind of reach people that would normally, be open to that kind of ideology. They do like large scale events,
Yeah.
Sure.
where they bring in people, and it's like people walk past and they go, "Oh, what's this?" And then suddenly they're socialists.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem is though is that as soon as somebody finds like DemSocs or their local trot group like the ISO or whatever, it ends at like selling newspapers at a rally or something. There's not a lot of base building. There's not a lot of actual progression.
I agree. But like at least for me, their function is more that there are more people.
Yeah.
Which is preferable to
just quantitatively.
Yeah.
Of course, the quality we can talk about. But
yeah.
just the fact that there are like some reach, they do serve a helpful function in that sense.
Oh, absolutely.
You just cannot talk about Trotsky around them. It's impossible. Like I have a friend who wrote a thesis on Trotsky's memoir about the Russian Revolution and how it's complete bunk. And I brought that up at one of the IMT meetings, and they were like, "Huh."
Self-group.
Did they kill you immediately?
No, they
they
actually they took it quite well. I just
okay.
said like basically a lot of the stuff that he claims cannot be corroborated by anyone else,
Right.
and is sometimes exactly contradictory to what we know.
That's most anti-communist propaganda.
I mean,
No, but like the thing is that he uses articles that he wrote at the time to make him look
Yes.
good.
Yeah. To
as
reinforce
just
himself.
facts. And it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, trots are generally very agreeable unless you say something positive about communism.
Yeah.
Or communist
All right. So my journey is somewhat connected to Justin's.
Jezza Steele and Justin PRT.
Yeah. Jeremy, aka Jezza Steele. So way back in 2008, I voted for Barack Obama. Before that, I went through some of the same things that Ethan and Taylor did. So I was actually a young Republican at one point. Like I had a subscription to the Limbaugh letter.
Did you know
real.
this?
It's real.
I haven't heard the story.
Did it come with like a Xanax or something every time?
No, but it did come. It did. Hold up, though. It came with a cassette tape of parody songs.
Oh my god!
Of like popular hits throughout the years, throughout the decades, with a very conservative bent to them. So
Sung by who?
By the same dude. I can't remember his name.
It wasn't Rush Limbaugh though.
It was
okay.
No. But featured on Rush Limbaugh's television
damn.
show. So there was one that was like the Beach Boys' Kokomo, but it was about all of the invasions that Bill Clinton had done, which honestly
probably still a banger.
Totally a banger, and could totally be an anti-imperialist theme if it were not being sung by a Republican. But anyway, so then I went through like a libertarian phase and a liberal and progressive or whatever. But I voted for Obama because of all the promises he made. He said he was going to close Guantanamo. He said he was going to get us universal health care.
And yes, we can. He also said yes, we can.
He also said yes, we
did say
can.
that.
He can.
He said, did we ever can for 8 years?
I can.
He canted for a long time. So anyway, by 2012, he was running for re-election, and I was pretty like disenchanted. I was like, what the, he didn't do any of the shit he said he was going to do, not a single fucking thing. And
Ron Paul 2012.
Ron Paul. Yeah, so that's what I voted for, Ron Paul. So I don't know. Anyway, I started calling myself a socialist long before I knew what the word even meant. And then the first thing I read was, I think, the Communist Manifesto, and I was like, well, okay, that was interesting enough. But then the second thing I read was Das Kapital, which
You read the
is-
whole thing?
I read the whole
All
thing.
both volumes?
Yeah.
Or 2.5
Three.
volumes? Well,
yeah,
3 is
it's-
uncompleted.
Yeah, it's Engels finished the third.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the second thing I read, and that it was heavy. That I wouldn't recommend anybody using
say
that
it
path. So I read it, and it's again, I don't recommend that as like the second thing you read in the realm of leftism. However, it made it so that I was like, it was impossible for anyone that I was friends with to talk me down from this shit, because it was like I was like fucking like I don't even know, like communist Voltron or some shit. I was like I knew, you know, the labor theory of value and understood what that meant in terms of like why logically communism worked, or socialism. I wouldn't have called myself a communist at that point, but why socialism worked, alienation, like all of these different concepts that are not based on, like, a lot of socialism in terms of not really socialism, but like social democracy or sort of left liberalism or progressivism is an emotional appeal. You know, why are we letting these people suffer? We should help these people, you know, people over profits. That all sounds good, but logically you can't argue from those positions. Whereas if you know that profit is just stolen surplus value, fucking destroy people with that.
Right.
If you talk about alienation in terms of, I work for this number of hours in order to make this product, but I can't afford it myself with that.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, like that's so helpful in terms of like arguing against people.
Preaching to the choir here, buddy.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm trying to explain like how I got to being a fucking tanky. But I was still like so I was a social democrat, I think, and then I read that, and I think I was then a libertarian socialist, quote unquote, and then somebody posted a meme that was like a person, you know, the one where like it's the 4 panels or whatever, and it's like, you know, you can't make me cry or whatever, and then somebody whispers in the ear, and it's like, there's never been a successful anarchist revolution. And it's like just tears, and I was like, oh fuck, it hits me in the feels, right? So memes radicalized me, and then it sort of just I was an ironic tanky long before I was a legit one. You know, Stalin did nothing wrong, and Gulag the liberals and all that
Fake it
shit.
till you make it.
And then at some point it was just like, fuck, like.
We should actually do like all the
Maybe
liberals.
we should do like all the liberals.
Like, yeah,
But it's
you
because-
jokingly say Stalin didn't kill enough people, like, for
Enough
so
times,
long, and
yeah.
you're actually like,
It's
you know.
that fucking Mother Night quote, right? We must be careful what we pretend to be, because we are what we pretend to be.
Wah, wah.
But anyway, that was the kind of the process. It was like sort of a jokey thing, and then eventually I sort of thought about it, and I was like, but really, like, the Soviet Union was
Tight.
so successful for so long, and it was through the policies of the Bolsheviks. And of course, at that point, I still was like, Lenin was the good guy, Stalin was the bad guy. But at some point, you know,
Whack.
Makhno, whack,
Kropotkin,
whack,
whack.
Bakunin,
Trotsky,
whack.
whack. The Soviet Union, tight as fuck.
Yeah, but anyway, like, that was kind of the process, and at some point it wasn't immediate. It was like a gradual thing. I sort of inched towards it, and then I read enough incrementalism in my personal life. And then Justin at one point was like, you know, we've got to vote for Democrats. Like, what else is there?
Called
Well,
out.
hey, let him tell his story.
No, but this is the origin of like when Justin began to shift to the left.
Yeah, and then
The Pearlspot origin
Yep.
story.
Pearlspot origin.
basically it's a very similar story, except I never was a young Republican. So I was basically apolitical, like, in the sense that I was like, oh, I don't care about politics.
Both sides.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, anyway, so Obama came up. I voted for Obama for the exact same reasons that Jeremy talked about.
White guilt. Sorry.
And then after the failure of
look
the
cool in the brown
Obama
suit.
legacy, then I basically, you know, was hanging out at Jeremy's house one day, and I was like, oh God, politics, I fucking hate it. And he was like, you should try socialism.
Just mainlines the socialism.
Nice.
I've got a gram right here.
Sounds like
It's a great A dank, like American socialism.
And I was like, whoa.
Pepto-Bismol.
I was like, didn't socialism kill, like, and we're brothers, by the way.
100
'cause
billion-
some
100
people were
billion
confused
people?
about that. The ones that sound like Muppets were both brothers. Yeah, basically I was like, socialism killed like 100 billion people, though. And he was like, no, not really. Hold on. And so this was when he was in his libertarian socialist phase. So
Yeah,
it was
I was like, that's state capitalism.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, shit.
Yeah.
And so then I started reading for myself, and I started radicalizing a very similar line that Jeremy went along, except it happened a lot faster.
Yeah.
Because
I think Justin was a tanky before I was.
yeah, but a lot of that is because I am not very smart, and so I tend to absorb theory and information through history, because if I can see real world applications, it's easier for me to understand why these things exist. And so I
Get
read
out of here.
I read Capital,
Oh, I'm not that
I'm not that smart. I read Capital.
but I didn't
Oh,
understand.
wait. Have you read
like,
Infinite Jest?
Stop. But I didn't
Oh
understand
my
a lot of it. A lot of it was over my head. I read some Lenin, and then I was like, oh God, like what was happening at this time? That's like I was like, I can't understand this. Like, so I was like, what's happening at this time? So I started reading a lot of history, and then I started thinking, like, as I was reading, I was like, shit, like this was the right decision, or this was the right decision, or that was the right decision. And so at that point, I started calling myself an ML, although I wasn't I hadn't reached my final form yet.
Where he's now the second biggest Stalinist in the world after Grover Fur.
Yeah. So basically, I read because of all of like the Stalin did nothing wrong memes. Basically, I read Another View of Stalin was the first book because I wanted to read something positive about Stalin because everything was negative.
Sure.
And so I was like, I want to learn about that. And so I read it and I was like, fuck, man, there's a lot of shit going on in here. And then that basically pushed me over the edge. But to be honest, when I really like solidified my political stance was when I was researching for the Fall of the USSR episode, because I went from being like, these actually existing states were great, but we should do something different moving forward. I mean, clearly we have to do something different moving forward.
To now it's like, no, we need to literally have the Soviet Union, same names for everything.
But when I was reading through the collapse of the Soviet Union and I saw how the co-ops and the private market within the co-ops basically decimated the Soviet Union, was when I was like, fuck the private market. Like like this idea of like a socialist market is bullshit.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really what pushed me like over the edge towards like full tinkydom. And that was basically researching for that episode was when I really radicalized.
So memes and podcasts.
So wait,
Seems
right.
Martin,
Podcast.
you told us that you were a hedonist before, but what actually brought you? Was it the trots or was it the IMT or?
The IMT definitely helped, but like basically I sat down for one of the reading groups that I was like kind of co-heading, and I read Reformer Revolution, and then the next week we read Anti-Duro, and then the next week we read State and Revolution, and I was like, okay. It's pretty clear.
State and Revolution. Like
at
you
this
read
point,
that
I'd
as-
already read the Manifesto and Capital, Volume 1. Still haven't gotten around to Volume 2. Sorry, guys.
That's where the good shit is. I haven't read either of them, just to be honest.
I haven't either. Like,
So it's basically literature and just talking to comrades. And also I met Zizek, and he's so cool. That's just an anecdote because he says he's a card-carrying Leninist, and he said that in one of the talks like way long ago, and I saw that because it was like he did it at Danish Royal Library, and I was like, what does that mean? And I was looking, I didn't know, so I was looking into it, and then I went to one of his talks, and nice, like.
This
He
is not.
has a lot of thoughts
This
on
is not the
ideology and
purest
superstructure that I
ideology.
think-
Watching
God damn it,
Zizek
Ethan.
speak radicalized this fellow.
No, but like just like what he says about like the superstructure and the ideology in general made a lot of sense to me. so I looked into like the actual material basis for it. So yeah, no, that's just in general. It took me a while, but it was like those 3 weeks in those reading groups, and then just listening to Zizek and buying his books.
Yeah, it goes.
People really like underestimate how big of an influence he can have, but that's maybe for another time.
I think he's just a meme more than anything.
He's more meme than
Yeah,
man.
but that's the thing that I feel like you guys have just made a very strong case for the counter argument to that, because you just said that you were radicalized by podcasts.
Yeah. Memes.
So,
Yeah, I'm the most ideologically pure here.
That's true. He was he's a red diaper baby.
We merely adopted Marxism Leninism. Ryder was born into it.
All right.
We're gonna go through some super easy ones just to kind of answer more for everybody. Ewan asked favorite music genre. I'm gonna go straight to you, Jeremy.
This has got to be the hardest question.
Hold on, let me give you a 15-minute dissection.
No. I want we could just say like
From the
top
gut.
3. Like, what are the 3 that you listen to most right now?
Yeah, but
It's a
music
complicated
genres
question.
is fucking complicated. So, like, if I say,
We don't need a fucking Marxist analysis of the music
it's not
genre.
even Marxist.
just say
Do you know
one
how,
of the
like,
genres that pops
before-
into your head. Come on.
Jeremy, you're white. It's rock. We get it.
Elvis Presley.
Hyder's been
Taylor
cut
Swift.
from the podcast.
Cut his mic. Cut his mic.
I like rock and roll.
Yeah, just rock and roll in general, bro.
I like everything except rap and country.
I like everything else.
No, but what?
I like emo.
I'm gonna make this really quick. I like
I'm gonna
post-punk
cut this
as
whole
a
segment.
whole genre.
All
My
together.
favorite band
You should just
is
give a one-word answer from Jeremy.
I'm gonna chop it to emo.
You bastard! You bastard!
And then the next is just me going, okay.
Oh, God.
Alright, so
You can post-punk. on.
Post-punk favorite band, New Order.
We made Ethan cry! Broken. Oh, God. Wellness check on Ethan.
Ethan, I'll ask
Seriously,
you an easy
don't-
question. Who's your favorite theater artist?
He can't hear you. He
took his
doesn't have his
headphones out 'cause
headphones
he's
in. He,
crying.
he pulled it out.
All right, I'm in.
Alright. My favorite genre is Major Lazer.
Major laser.
That's the genre.
That's not a genre we're claiming.
I mean, it should be. Yeah,
Martin.
we're being honest.
Martin, get a hold of yourself.
But the
You're out
time
of
difference
control,
is
buddy.
affecting you now.
It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. There.
All right.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to finish my cider, so.
All right. This is Justin, and my favorite genre is hip hop.
I love jazz and also Rocky music. There you go. That's all it takes. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. That's it.
I like jazz, and then a lot of ambient stuff, and just like tons of shitty electronic music.
Same here. Yeah. Perfect answer. Yeah.
All right. What is the best version of the Internationale?
Not the Billy Bragg version.
Oh, it's the Billy Bragg
Fuck
version.
off
not
the
the
Billy
Billy
Bragg
Bragg
version.
version.
No, it is the Billy
It's
Bragg
definitely
version.
Fuck to the Billy
Bragg
Bragg version.
All right, so you now know the Prole's opinion on the Internationale.
No, it's whatever version they would sing at the Soviet Congress.
Yeah.
Like every year.
Obviously. All right. Favorite game/gaming platform. Justin.
Oh man.
Favorite game: World of Warcraft, Vanilla BC, Wrath of the Lich King.
Big nerd.
And favorite gaming platform, probably the Super Nintendo.
Nice.
You've got the wrong guy for this.
All right. Hyder has
doesn't know
talked
video
multiple
games
times
are.
about how we should have been beat up when we were growing up because we play games and stuff like that.
See, this is why gamers
Heiser,
are
can you
oppressed.
talk about that some more?
There'll be a whole episode on the issue one day.
Gosh,
Ethan, what
favorite
what do you
game?
say?
So to be fair, I've already sunk like 20 hours into Red Dead Redemption 2. So
No, one of them honestly is Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, it's not the best one in that game, but I've spent so much time in that game. So this 1997 PC game, Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight.
Oh,
Oh,
shit!
I
shit.
spent
Fuego.
so much time on the game,
Yeah.
and then I'll have to say Civilization 2. I spent like I
It's
said
your
this on
favorite
Discord.
game, Ethan, not your.
Civilization 2.
What was Dark Forces about then?
That was up there. I'm saying
Oh,
these
my
are the
Lord.
3 games. My favorites are the ones I spent
All
the most
right,
time in my
Jeremy.
life on.
Okay, as far as games, I think my favorite game is probably A Link to the Past.
Nice.
Good
Yeah.
choice.
It's a really
good
good one. As far as platforms go, though, this is probably heresy, but the Xbox 360 had so many good games. Like, so many good games.
Wow.
So many.
So
Good choice.
he was a
Taylor?
Halo and COD guy.
No, it
So
wasn't.
my favorite game of all time. That's again. I think with Ethan, it's a tough one, but I would just have to say Warcraft 3.
That's a good one
With the
too.
remastering.
I mean, we'll see how remastered goes, but I played a lot of WoW. But like whenever my friends and I weren't on WoW, we were playing Warcraft 3, like custom games all the time. And then gaming platform PC.
Rise up.
I don't even have a great PC, but like all the
Gang
games
weed.
that you can play on it, it's pretty great.
My
Little sanity.
favorite game is chess.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Intellectual.
We didn't ask Martin, what's your favorite
Oh
game?
fuck! Who is Bryce? That's a good one.
Oh,
Martin. Yeah.
Martin, what's your favorite game?
I like a video game.
Yeah.
Probably Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Oh.
Oh, got a
Deep
Nice.
Deep cuts.
a
And then-
a vintage gamer. Not
And
many
then
of us
what?
left.
God damn it! Stop. Who? Oh wow.
Here we go.
We got a really big question here. Who is Bryce?
Justin, you want to field this one?
Well, Bryce was the original hater
Yeah.
for Prolspod. He was the first one that just trolled us nonstop and shit on every post we made and every
Found
episode
us
we...
before the Rev Left episode.
Like we're
Found
talking
us
the
before
hater
the
of all
Patreon was
haters.
Well, and like
This dude
yeah,
was-
and he's on Twitter and he's just got the most like milquetoast
Yeah.
centrist takes and is just
And we
How
turned,
he
we
found
turned him
us
in-
is just.
I don't know.
That's the wild part.
Was he searching
my
communism?
favorite take of his is the dialectical materialism is just childish way of viewing history.
I just like
We
yeah.
basically took
enjoy
his-
Pros of the Round Table where a Amazon worker getting a UTI is worse than millions of workers getting. A,
Dying
Girls of the
in
Round Table
purges,
is a great
is what he
podcast.
there you go.
Oh man.
said. Yeah. So basically, we turned him into a meme.
We did.
Every tweet that he made, we would misquote him by like saying that like Prolspod is great or China is communist, or all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
And
it
then
was a
and
good
then
time.
Justin got sick of it and blocked him.
But once support Chinese
Once
communism
the
or something
Stalin
like that.
episode dropped, we had enough actual haters that it
Yeah.
wasn't really fun anymore.
No, but here's the thing. I think at this point we should unblock him because like now that we've gone through the Rev Left and like episode and like all the
People can come to
all
our
the
defense.
actual ridiculous haters, like I feel like Bryce would be like quaint in a way.
Yeah, that's I was just
Quaint
about to
Bryce.
say like the Trot and the Kefir guy have
Yes.
following you.
Oh god, that guy is
True.
amazing.
One guy wrote blogs, another guy wrote like an
Three-part
essay.
response to
Yeah,
The other
so
guy
he
is
wrote a
obsessed
three-part
with
response
Zinoviev.
to our episode
the
about
Stalin episode.
You kidding?
No.
I'm not
No. He wrote a fucking essay about our
No, and
goddamn
part one of
podcast.
3. It's gonna
Yes,
be
he's
a
three
blog
parts.
blog post about their
This
Stalin
doesn't
episode.
fit on one WordPress site.
It's wild.
All right,
He's
this,
They-
nerds.
we're-
He's
John
fucking nerds.
John WordPress called him. It's too big. You gotta split it up.
this next one is a perfect.
Oh yes.
So this. I'm the host, so I get to kind of control how this operates right now. Benj, our great patron Benj, shout out Benj, asked favorite Harry Potter movie, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna say the only half decent Harry Potter movie is The Prisoner of Azkaban. Because they had a director that actually knew what the fuck he was doing with the source material. That wasn't trying to just like play for play recreate the fucking book. It was actually pretty okay.
Taylor
That's the
confirmed
best one.
Harry Potter fan.
No, that's the best one. Oh, dude, I grew
Real
up reading them.
Ravenclaw.
Obviously, like
Real-
at one point
no,
I was
that's
a child.
the thing. It's the sort of angry zeal that only a former adherent can.
It's entirely true, and not even fan, but just like as a person who grew up with it.
Yeah,
Like, holy shit!
No.
Again, like, what was it earlier that you said, Martin? Like when you turn 16, like something changes, and you gotta like read or like think something else. Harry Potter, folks.
16.
Yeah, when you turn 16, you stop being an anarchist.
And you stop reading Harry Potter. So I'm gonna say, obviously, it's the third one. Really quick, off the top of your head, so we don't keep doing this shit where we talk for like.
No, I
but
agree
we
with you.
don't-
It's
people
Prisoner
don't
of
want just
Azkaban.
one word answer.
No,
Prisoner
okay.
of Azkaban. I agree. It's the
Yeah,
best
Prisoner
one.
of Azkaban. But what's your favorite movie that's not Harry Potter?
Ooh,
Just quick. Do like off the top of your head, like think
Oh
right now.
wow, fuck.
Quick answers.
You can't answer for all of us. For
Okay,
Harry Potter.
what's your favorite Harry Potter, Hyder?
I've never seen anything.
I haven't either,
I
honestly.
only
Hyder
saw the
is
first
so
two,
pure.
and neither of them were good, so I don't know how to answer.
All right, so the only two people that have seen all of them, Jeremy and Taylor, say Prisoner of Azkaban.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
It's easy.
For sure.
Okay.
That's it.
So okay, so now that we've
I've
answered
seen all
that,
of
what
them, and
favorite
I'm
movie?
gonna say The Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, you're a fan of the OG Dumbledore?
The philosopher.
I think you mean
The Philosopher's
The
Stone.
OG Dumbledore, and also because Harry Potter, the guy, what's his name, Daniel Radcliffe?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, he has an actual acting trainer in every single scene, and you can tell.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's actually a pretty good actor now that he's gotten out of the Harry Potter like that contract.
Now that he's 18,
He's like 45.
Return of the Jedi.
All right, so Justin just said what?
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Hyder, favorite movie?
Oh no. Okay, so
Jeremy.
when I was 14, the clouds were greyer than they are today, and that made an impression on me and on my cinema view. The greatest movie of all come back to
Grown
it.
Ups too.
I'll give you. Come back to it. I'll think about it. I'll come.
I mean, for me, it's either the Tarkovsky Solaris or
Oh my
The
God.
Fountain by Darren Aronofsky.
really?
Oh,
I
Darren
want
Aronofsky.
to change my answer.
no,
I
no,
want to change my
nice.
answer.
The Fountain was terrible.
The Fountain was so good.
was so
Fuck
bad.
you. Fuck you.
So
It
bad.
was
It's
good.
one of the worst
So
movies
bad.
I've ever seen in my
I'm gonna
life.
What are you talking
I'm gonna
about?
stand up on Ethan the way he
Who's
stood
the
up on
fountain?
me.
Who's in the photo?
Hugh Jackman is the lead.
It was
It's
so
such
bad.
garbage.
Fuck off.
That was
It's
one of the
beautiful.
worst movies
The one with the
I've
swimming
ever
pool at the end?
seen.
What?
The one with the swimming pool at the end?
No.
No.
What happens in the
He
fountain?
the sun explodes. He flies. He's
Oh.
flying the tree of life into the sun.
I haven't seen it. Okay.
It's so bad.
Tree of Life is
It's
really
amazing.
bad.
It's
It's
amazing.
really
no, wait.
bad.
The Tree of Life is good.
Well,
That's not even the best Aronofsky movie.
No, the Tree of Life is Malik.
Tree of Life is
That's
Malik.
my That's my third
Terrence
favorite
Malick.
movie.
That's
Is
Terrence
the Tree of
Malick.
Life?
Yeah.
Tree of Life is an amazing
Yes,
movie.
that's in my
like,
top three.
To,
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
choose Aronofsky over Malik is weird enough.
No,
but, like,
but it's just because I have an
Okay.
emotional connection to the Fountain. But like the,
Oh,
the
Fountain.
Tree of
Sorry,
Life.
The Fountain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
The
Fountain.
Fountain
You
is
don't like the
terrible.
Fountain, okay? But you do
Sorry,
like the
my
Tree of
bad.
Life.
Yeah, the Tree
Have
of Life
you
was
seen
pretty good.
Melancholia?
Amazing.
Though.
Yeah,
No,
that
that's
was pretty
fantastic.
good,
That was
but
alright.
like
Yeah.
I can't handle fucking what's his name?
Von Trier.
Yeah.
You can't handle
Von
Von
Trier.
Trier?
No, not even a little
He's
bit.
so good though.
He's like it's so hard to watch his fucking movies though.
It's
like
Like,
he's an
have you
expert.
seen Antichrist?
Yeah.
Jesus,
He's an-
fuck.
I've seen all of
introvert.
Von
Ruins-
Trier's movies,
it
and
ruins me.
they're compared to a lot of Danish
Because he's your
directors. He's
countryman.
actually not that dark.
Yikes.
They're American. For them, Trier is dark. They don't see
all right.
it.
Have you figured out what your favorite is yet?
You know what? I'll happily say Tree of Life, top 3 at least.
It's good.
Nice.
It's a good
Okay,
movie.
Taylor?
All right, I'm gonna say No Country for Old Men.
Oh,
That's also
Ooh,
good.
that's a
Yeah,
good
that's
one.
also
That's a
good.
good
Give me
one.
a handshake. Tarkovsky Stalker.
Oh,
Okay.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's
yes.
good.
Yeah, I like Solaris better than that one, but it's still amazing movie.
All right,
Amazing movie.
I'm
Jeremy.
way too drunk to answer this question, so I'm not gonna bother. Okay, not gonna happen.
Nice.
Favorite movie?
The Lion King 2. It hasn't come out yet.
No, they did. It was
They-
called
they
Timon
made
and
one.
Pumbaa.
No, it
It
was
was like
no, it
Scar
was-
of Revenge.
Oh,
or
it's
something.
Scar of
Yeah,
Revenge.
it was
That's what
no.
it was,
The Lion
yeah.
King 2 came out in like 1999.
Clear, clear.
Anyway, wait, so
no.
who is
No,
who
no. I
is
think,
Eric
I think
Andre
honestly,
playing?
honestly, I think I have to say, fuck. I'm really edgy and I don't talk, so
Drive?
Apparently,
Drive.
you like
I like
you
Drive.
like Lars
Drive was
von
pretty
Trier.
good. It
so-
was
I
very
actually
weird.
actually enjoy Drive. I know
It's
that
very,
it's
like,
like memed
uncomfortable.
as being an
Drive is
anti-Semitic
pretty
film or
good.
whatever.
That's not
honestly.
Von Trier.
Drive?
No,
No,
Drive is
not-
Drive
no,
is
no, no.
Nikolai. What's his name?
Winding.
Yeah. It's
Nicola-
very like,
yeah,
oh,
Vinny-
this
Vinny
is-
No, I
Refn.
take it back. Old Boy is my answer. The original Old Boy.
Oh,
Korean?
fuck.
Korean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I changed
Let
my...
Martin
Are
talk.
we, are, we,
Sorry.
are, we, are we doing what like every group does when they're children, and they're like, pick your favorite Pokemon. Someone mentions one that's a little bit better, and everybody goes, no, I picked that.
No, I changed my mind. Yeah, no. Yeah.
So Comrade Sniff asked, how do you guys meet?
We all live in.
Jeremy
So
and
in
Justin are brothers.
1984, August 10th, this squealing baby
Hey.
showed up at my house.
And
I've never
My
met
house.
these people.
So Jeremy and Justin are brothers. They've
Yeah.
known each other
Yeah.
for
Wow.
their lives.
Long time.
and then I met the rest of them through the Colorado Springs Socialists.
Yeah,
because
so I think
Colorado Springs, despite being like the sixth
Sixth
conservative
most-
city.
the sixth most conservative city in the United
Yeah,
States.
it has a surprisingly large population of socialists
I
and
think
Marxist-Leninists.
as far as we can tell, it has a larger population of socialists than Denver does.
But now there's like 75 regular members of Colorado Springs Socialists, and that's almost 3 times as many as the regular attendance of the meetings up there in Denver, which is wild because Denver is like 3, almost 4 times as big as
And
Colorado
yeah,
Springs.
no, so,
liberal, and
so
it's
it's
quote-unquote
larger.
liberal.
So our group here is larger in number and definitely in proportion.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like several
But
times
then
in proportion.
it's also not a fully ML group, right?
No,
That's-
no, no. It's
Can
wild.
I just
don't
point out
understand.
that Ethan is correct when he says, fuck, we're going to have to do a second bonus episode just for your guy.
Oh god, there's so many.
Yeah, no. We're gonna have to do
we're gonna save
many
some of
many
them.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
most of them.
We'll
Just-
save them. But
We'll
yeah,
keep
so
going.
I guess
We'll keep going.
just to quickly finish off that question, Justin and Jeremy grew up together. The rest of the proles all met through the Spring Socialists organization, and then we met Hyder because
I interviewed Hyder for Colorado Springs Socialists.
yeah.
And then Hyder's
talk
like, I
about
love
how-
Stalin. Jeremy's like, oh great.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, wait,
yeah.
what?
No. That was the funniest part. So I was asking these questions, and I was like, where do you land politically? And he's like, so consider myself a Marxist-Leninist. And I was like, yes. And he's like, so I defend China. And I was like, yes. I defend the Soviet Union. I was like, yes. And he was like, I defend Stalin. I was like, fucking rad. And he was like, really? Stalin?
I apologized if you remember.
Yeah, you did. You were like, I'm sorry, but that's just. And I was like, no, that's fucking great.
So do we.
amazing.
Welcome.
As for
That's where you
how
usually lose people.
as for how Proles Pod came around, in the very short version, basically we were part of this group. We were
Yeah.
all MLs, and we were all alcoholics. So we spent a lot of time drinking together and hanging out at breweries and all this shit. And
Sure.
what we would do is just sit and talk about history for hours.
Yeah.
And so
And all the Dem socks and Lib socks and anarchists would just like kind of walk away. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
like,
too much history.
and so we were like, well, why don't we start recording this? And that's literally how
That's basically it.
Proles
yeah.
Pod started.
They brought me on to do one episode, and now I spend more time with these guys than I do with my wife.
Oh.
All right, so the next question is, how? It's from Comrade Sniff. How do your families, including wider families, feel about your politics?
We'll let Taylor go last.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Okay, fair.
Jeremy, you can probably sum this up.
We've made our mother cry more than once.
Ooh.
More than
Maybe,
once.
yeah, several times.
Yeah, it's they're like we're open about it, and
Last
they're-
Christmas, I made my mom cry by defending the DPRK.
and then I think
Nice.
it was the Thanksgiving before that we made her cry because we said we were going to guillotine Donald Trump.
Oh, man. I just want to see the Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Our parents
Thanksgiving.
are conservatives, quote unquote.
Extremely conservative parents.
But also they're super liberal, so they're very soft. They
Yes.
they value
The progressive conservatives.
they don't value brown lives, but they value white lives. So if we talk about killing people, guillotining Donald Trump, they're like, "Why are you so aggressive? Why are you so murderous?" And so it's this whole disconnect between they don't care about what we do overseas, but they're really upset that we would potentially kill Donald Trump and his family for killing people overseas.
yeah, my dad once was like, where did we go wrong? Because it's two
We're the only children.
we're the only children. Yeah, there's only 2 of us, and we both were hard-line communists. And my dad's like, where did we go wrong? And I was like, you taught us to think for ourselves.
Jesus Christ,
yeah.
you
You ever
guys,
just
you
become a
guys have the
communist to
same
flex on
parents
your
as me,
parents?
basically.
Nice.
Martin
All right.
said the third brother.
Martin,
No, but
are
not
you,
the Republicans, but they really emphasize the you have to think for yourself, think for yourself, think for yourself,
Right,
because
and
they
they just
voted for
bit
a
them in
party
the
that gets
ass?
4%
Oh,
in the
Jesus.
multi-party system, right?
Aw.
And they're currently being betrayed by their party. Still voting for them though.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like especially when you have how many is it now? I think they just add another one, so it's 11 parties to choose from, and none of them are good. So it's like,
Hey.
Man, electorism is so great.
All right.
yeah.
Slightly weird answer for me. So my parents, both commies, both were in prison in Iraq under Saddam, being commies. Actually, under Hassan Bakr in the mid-70s, before Saddam. So as I was growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of lefties, Iraqi commies, Arab commies, and it was. By the time I was 10, the Soviet Union had collapsed, the Berlin Wall had gone down, the war in Iraq was about to start. So I grew up around commies who didn't want the next generation to be commies. They saw it failed, they'd been in prison, they'd been tortured, they were broke, they were taxi drivers even though they had PhDs from Moscow or blah, blah, blah. So growing up, unfortunately, I had to hide anything I did from my parents. Because they didn't want me to do it, and they thought it was silly, and it sort of broke my heart to see them, like, because they, in a sense, they were the model of, what I thought should be done. So to see them sort of reach that age and get tired, I just had to hide it from them. Even in the field work I did in Iraq for 7 years, I didn't tell them what I was up to. So I mean, I just got used to hiding it from them, and it would just upset them, and haven't really achieved the revolution yet, so when I do, then I'll tell them.
Okay.
Oh, your boy did it!
Aren't you proud of me, Mom? All right, Ethan.
It's we don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. I think my parents.
You don't want
know-
to make your mom cry.
Well, I mean, my dad is
Coward.
I guess my dad several years ago. The last time we talked about it, he was a right libertarian.
Yeah.
And I just remember having it, like, this is back when I was a soc dem, and I was talking like, well, listen, I mean, in Finland and in the Nordic countries, they have free healthcare, and he was like, yes, but you have to give up freedom for it. And I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And so,
That's a good question, though. What does that mean?
I still don't know.
Like, fucking tell me, you
It's
piece
just
of
a
shit.
word that you say.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
a word. But so that was one of the last times we talked about politics. We just don't talk about it anymore. And I know they know a bit about, like, they don't know about the podcast or anything. Like, no, but I mean, they don't know that I have I have politics like this.
Sure.
They know I'm like, oh, communist, but I'm pretty sure they think that means like,
Denmark.
well, I was gonna say like
They're
Obama.
extremely communist
Extreme
country.
communist Denmark.
But yeah, we take in about 4 refugees.
God. How do they feel about my politics? Not good. I'm sorry.
All right,
Although my brother listened to the Soviet Cinema episode, he sent me a message. He was like, "That was really cool." I enjoyed
Nice.
that. And I was
Nice.
like, "Oh, nice." And then I sent him the links to all the other ones that I'm on.
All right, when I moved back from Canada in late 2014, early 2015, being like a big NDP, like John Mulcair, like, oh, it's like the Bernie crowd of Canada, really. That didn't sit well with my parents, and then as I further radicalized, it got worse to the point where last year a few of us were arrested for an anti-imperialist protest in downtown Colorado Springs, and my family didn't know about it for a very long time, actually until almost the trial, which this arrest happened in March of 2017 and the trial happened in March of 2018. So my parents found out about it and proceeded to just fucking ream me, asking me about things, and just, yeah, they saw pictures of actually, they didn't know about the arrest until then. They knew about the protest beforehand because they saw pictures via one of my mom's friends who I grew up with. Like, her daughter is one of my best friends, and so we're friends on Facebook, and this friend showed my mom my profile picture was me holding a sign that said "No war but class war," and my parents freaked out and lost their shit.
On
and
what
then
grounds?
what?
On what grounds? Like,
They just don't like the idea of like class war. They don't think about like they're. My parents are super conservative, like Reaganite, like loving, and like I love them, but like damn, it's 2018. Like trickle down fucking blows. Like what it blew then, but it blows now.
Yeah.
Do they still like? Because I don't live in the U.S. Do they still do the trickle down stuff?
People still totally like stand for the trickle down bullshit.
both parties.
Oh yeah.
But like
uh,
how?
People just believe that like if you build a superstructure economy that's just beneficial to the people at the top, that people will see results from it. And this is the parties, right? This isn't the people within the parties or whatever. Like I'm sure they kind of believe it too, but it comes down to like my parents. Like when my dad and I last talked about politics fully, he was talking about like how good Donald Trump has been for like his 401k, and like that's all that
Cool.
comes down to, right?
Cool.
But yeah, so it took a full year before this trial happened, and then I saw my dad the night after the trial. So like the trial happened, we were found guilty of one of two charges. I went to work. I was making pizzas at a restaurant in downtown Colorado Springs. My dad and brother came in to get a pizza and hang out and get a beer. And I said hi to them. Like it was just like normal. And the next morning, I'm driving to Denver, and I got a text from my dad that's just like, "That Gazette article is absolute bullshit. Like, how could you do that to us? Like, your grandparents are furious." And it was like the Gazette. The dude was there writing about it the whole time, and like got all of our names, and we can't strike it from the record because it's like a public record, right? Like we're at court. And so at that point, my family pretty much disowned me, and I kind of just disowned them too. I was just kind of done with having to fucking worry about navigating the minefield of my politics. And then, so from March of this year until July of this year, I didn't say anything to my family. And then I broke my femur in a cycling accident, and I called my dad because I'm still on their insurance, and I was like, "Hey, broke my femur. You're gonna start seeing bills. Just want to let you know." And he showed up in the ER, and I'm sitting there with a broken femur, like hopped up on. I think they gave me fentanyl, and my dad and I like are talking politics. Like he kicked my best friend, who's also a Marxist-Leninist, out of the room, who had come down from Denver to like, as soon as he heard that it happened, came down from Denver to check in on me, kicks him out of the room, and for an hour my dad and I talked politics, and my dad said that he was just frustrated that we didn't talk about it, but my mom doesn't want to see me ever again because I posted a status on Facebook celebrating Ho Chi Minh's birthday. And
that makes no sense.
Yeah, so it was like a Telesur post that was like, on this day in 1890, Ho Chi Minh was born. This is what he did. This is why he's important. And I shared that, and that same friend that shared it the first time with my mom showed her again, and my mom saw that and was just pissed, like thinking that like Ho Chi Minh's like this evil communist dictator that like if I should support him, then like I must be the worst person alive. And the dissemination of everything from that point, like I've talked to my parents again after breaking my leg, and it's a very tenuous relationship. We can talk, and I like them, but like
I saw Taylor's dad at
like
the fundraiser for his like broken hip at the brewery, and I was like, Taylor's dad looks like a cop.
Yeah, and then I texted the group that he texted, and I was like, my dad is a cop. So yeah, full disclosure, my dad's also a cop. Well, he's actually an investigator for the DA's office.
He has like
right
if
now,
you
but
imagine a cop's mustache.
That's my
Taylor's dad.
My dad is a straight up cop, and like that's the thing is I love my dad, but I don't necessarily like my dad. You know,
Sure.
It's tough. The politics are shitty, and it's really tough. So yeah.
Well,
Martin, how does your family feel about politics?
About like what you said about your dad being a cop? I can relate, but that's because my girlfriend that I live with, her dad's maybe I shouldn't say too much here. No, so basically, like my family, like they've always been quite. It's weird in Denmark because we get really high salaries,
Yeah.
So we have like a huge percentage of the labor aristocracy, basically. And I guess that's probably what my parents fall into, especially my mom recently, because she became an administrator for the first time. She was a school teacher, right? But then now she's an administrator, so it's like she has, because my dad's been a manager for so long that he's like he's used to it, you know, like he sort of internalized The Economist, reading it for 40 years or whatever. So he's just, everything he says is just like, I've read that before. When it comes to politics, it's just regurgitating this kind of stuff, right? And my mom, she recently became an administrator, so she has like this whole new, secretaries are lazy, horrible people who just steal your time, and students are even worse. Yeah, so far as like like my progress with my parents is that I'm a secret communist and they don't realize.
I guess better than an out-and-out communist. But.
Only time that I've gotten close was when my dad started talking about Solzhenitsyn, which he has apparently read a little bit about.
No.
Yeah.
This next segment is called, we could do a whole episode on that. And might.
Probably not at this point.
Well, no.
Ethan has been kind enough to go through and put together a summarized version of John Brown's life. And
yes. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You could spend a
intense.
whole episode on John Brown because, like, this fucking guy. But we wanted to do something nice for the patrons, and we're gonna talk about.
This is gonna be awesome, and
talk about a real one.
Here's what's gonna happen is John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave, but his soul goes marching on, and Ethan's gonna tell you about that soul.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
It was good.
I fucking hate this podcast. I'm done. Fuck all of you. Martin, you're cool, but fuck everybody else.
Jeremy, whack. Justin, whack. Ethan, whack. Martin, you're tight as fuck. So, all right.
Heider's tight too.
I didn't actually look up when he was born. So
Google it.
hold on. Ask Google.
Okay, Google. When was John Brown born?
Did you mean Charlie Brown?
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when he was born because he never died. He's lived on forever. He's always been with us.
His soul goes marching on.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so John Brown was born in 1800, and through he was always in an abolitionist family, and he was a member of the Congregationalist Church, which still exists. They became part of the United Church of Christ, but one of their whole big things was anti-slavery and like abolition, and so he grew up in those, and he was actually going to school to be a minister, and then he got an eye infection, so he had to go home.
You can't love Jesus and have a fucked up eye?
No, Jesus only likes people with like healthy eyes. No, I'm sure it's just that they hadn't invented like medicine yet, and so.
Stop.
Okay, medicine in 15 was not
You're
good.
banned from doing this anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, so he ended up. He opened a tannery, which is. Yeah, so he got involved in tanning. Which is like. Make animal skins. It involves like a lot of wool, leather, that kind of thing. So he got very comfortable with wool and like knowing like what legit wool was. And then he had his first wife. I think he had 7 children with, and then his second wife, who was like half his age, was like he had 13 children with his second wife. Like of his 20 children, only 11 of them made it to adulthood. Like. Yeah.
Real 1850 hours. Who half of John Brown's kids.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And we don't know a ton about, or I mean, his life isn't super interesting before then, or before about the 1830s, which is when the like abolition shit really starts popping off. And so in 1837. There was this abolitionist minister named Elijah Lovejoy who got killed by a pro-slavery mob in Illinois. And it's documented that in church, like they were like his church, they were talking about this, and John Brown stood up and made a public statement. He said, "Here before God, in the presence of these witnesses, from this time I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery."
Damn.
Fucking yes.
And then like his daughter wrote later that like at that point he took all of his kids, they were like in their house, and he had them all kneel and like ask them like before God, like we're doing a ceremony, are you going to devote your life to ending the evil of slavery? And like he did this with his family, he did it at church, like yeah, it was the real deal. And so then in 1846 he moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, which was a kind of progressive anti-slavery community, but it was also like a trading hub. So it's interesting because he moved there in part because he believed that wool growers in the area were getting fleeced by wool buyers. Here's the thing. Fleeced. Sorry. Sorry. I just realized that.
I just heard it and I was like, who's going to be the first?
No, I was
Podcast over. Podcast over.
So after
Ethan.
you fleece the wool.
No, I didn't realize that. Sorry.
It's interesting because
How do you grow wool?
how do you grow wool?
Sheep plants.
You had no problem with that.
I didn't realize.
Fleeced it yet?
Sorry, Eider. No, so he thought that all the wool buyers were colluding to keep prices for keep prices low to fuck over the wool buyers. And so what he did was he opened a wool distribution center where he was like, everyone who's sending in wool, like you give it to me, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna judge it by price, I'm gonna assign a price based on the quality. And everyone was like, this is legit, this guy knows his shit when it comes to wool. And so and yeah, he was certain quality, and then he would arrange the sales because he was like, the wool buyers are getting fucked over. Like we need, like he was basically trying to like unionize wool buyers in the 1830s.
Okay.
And so here's the thing. He was a really good judge of like the quality of wool. He was a really good. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he knew his shit. But then he was like a really strong advocate of the wool buyers. Not a great businessman though. I was reading this one biography of him, John Brown, abolitionist. I don't remember the author, but he was like, well, there are several tenets of capitalism that John Brown just didn't follow, and that led to his failure as a wool seller. I'm like, well.
Because he wasn't a fucking capitalist.
Right, exactly. Well, so the problem is that he didn't... So, like, there was a lowered tariff. The government lowered tariffs on imported wool, which would generally lower the prices. But he was like, I'm not lowering prices. Fuck this. Like, the wool buyer... It didn't... And nothing changed for the wool buyers. But then, like, people started buying the imported wool. And so... he went to Europe at one point to directly appeal to wool buyers there. Just be like, listen, can you just buy directly from me? Then he went to England to try and get a better price for wool and stuff, and it didn't work out. So he lost his firm a bunch of money, which is a bummer. But no, but it's interesting. His son later was writing about, like, he said, father's favorite theme was that of the community plan of cooperative industry, in which all should labor for the common good, having all things in common, as did the disciples of Jesus in his day. This has been and still is my communistic and socialistic faith. So John Brown is like he's living workers' rights. Marx hasn't written his like most of his shit at this point,
Sure.
but like, and he was obviously not a Marxist or materialist, but he was a fucking workers.
Shit in common and
He was going at it for the workers. Like it was awesome. And so while he was in this town of Springfield, he was going to the black-founded Sanford Street Free Church, which would have a lot of lectures from people like Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth. Like it was a regional abolition hub. And so in 1847, he had Frederick Douglass back to his house with his family, and they spent all night talking. And Frederick Douglass wrote... Frederick?
Yeah.
Friedrich Douglass?
No,
It's
there's
like
no
German.
I in there at all.
Read
It's
them
just
German
Frederick.
for no reason.
Sorry, we were just talking about Marx. I was thinking about Engels. Listen, we pronounce things bad. I was thinking about Engels. I'm sorry. So
Poor Martin.
Yeah,
Martin.
no E, no I in there. It's just
Frederick.
Don't
Frederick.
think about me. No,
Frederick
no, no.
Douglass.
I already set my Patreon tier to $1.
Yes, that's good. No, yeah. So you would hear lectures from people like Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth and stuff. So in 1847, he has Frederick Douglass back to his house, and they spent all night talking. And Douglass later writes in, like about this night, he said that Brown basically helped him. He was like, yeah, I was talking to Brown, and this guy pretty much convinced me that we're not going to end slavery peacefully. Like, we're not going to do it through voting. And there's this great quote. He said, Brown, though a white gentleman, is in sympathy a black man, and is deeply interested in our cause as though his own soul had been pierced with the iron of slavery.
Damn.
So, yeah, Frederick Douglass was like, this guy's legit. He's a real one. And so in this time, up through 1847, so the Underground Railroad already existed, and that's the way they would get freed slaves up to the north. He was like, we need more than this. He had a plan for the Subterranean Pass Way, which was basically he had plans for extending the Underground Railroad into the deep south in like Georgia, but with guns.
Nice.
To like pierce, like have protected
Sure.
Underground Railroad as opposed to these just secret things. He was like, yeah, we'll extend the Underground Railroad, and if people come and give us a hard time, we're gonna fucking blow them away. Yeah. So then, in the next couple of years he's doing this wool business. 1850, the U.S. passes the Fugitive Slave Act, which is, you're nodding. Do you want to explain that?
It's basically if anybody in the North is caught with a freed slave, they are forced to send the slave back to the South and basically serve jail time or pay a penalty.
Yeah. 1850. So they pass this Fugitive Slave Act, and John Brown, he creates this thing called the League of Gileadites, which is from like a Bible thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was basically an armed group that would protect runaway slaves. If you're a runaway slave, you come to this place, they will protect you with fucking heat.
Yeah.
And so once he started this, no slave, from the time that he started this group, no documented slaves were taken back into slavery in that area.
Nice.
So, this guy he was legit. And so 1849 or 1850 or so, he moved to the Adirondacks, to this town over by Lake Placid, New York, upstate New York. And so there was this guy named Garrett Smith, who he was an abolitionist who was also like a super rich fuck. But he bought 120,000 acres by Lake Placid, and he split it into little plots, and he was like, I'm just giving this for free to freed slaves,
nice.
So that they have their own land. And so John Brown was like, I'm gonna move there. That community sounds awesome. I know a shitload about farming and stuff. I can help teach people stuff. And so he moved up there, but like that community didn't really work out super great because the land is just really bad. The weather's shitty. Most of these like former slaves didn't really know a ton about farming because surprisingly they don't actually teach you that many skills when you're a slave on a fucking plantation. So it didn't work out great, but he moved back and forth between there and Ohio for several years, up until the wild stuff starts to happen in his life. So Kansas as a state it wasn't a thing until like the 1860s, I think. But in 1854,
it shouldn't be a thing now.
Hey.
Well, it was a territory, and there was a whole big question over whether that, like, they were talking about it becoming a state, and there was a whole big disagreement on like, are we gonna have slaves in this state because having another slaveholding state would tip the balance in Congress, and so it was a whole big thing. And so from 1864 to 1861, there's this term that historians call Bleeding Kansas, which was a lot of like violent struggles between abolitionist and pro-slavery forces, like people, abolitionists killing pro-slavery people, vice versa. Yeah, it's called Bleeding Kansas. These violent conflicts over whether Kansas was going to have slavery. And so what you had was a ton of people moving from Missouri into Kansas to vote for were against slavery motions, mostly for. Like they were really gaming the system, just like moving thousands of people into Kansas to vote for people who would support slavery. And so and it's interesting because Congress at that point actually sent some observers to the place, and they observed the elections, and they were like, yeah, if it was actually only Kansas residents, they would have a free state, like abolitionist legislature, but the fucking slavery.
Also Missourians who went and founded what's now Texas as well. A bunch of fucking slaveholders went down to Texas and
Interesting.
Fucking Missouri.
Fuck Missouri.
Missouri
Fuck
sucks.
Missouri.
Fuck Missouri, basically. And so there was I don't remember exactly when, it was 1855, I believe, or 1854, something like that. There were pro-slavery forces led by the county sheriff. They sacked the town of Lawrence, Kansas. Basically, they destroyed the offices and equipment of 2 abolitionist newspapers. Like it was just a bunch of like pro-slavery fucks going in, doing all this shit. And so so that happened. And then so around this time, so this is about 1855, I think. 5 of John Brown's sons moved to Kansas together with all their families to get land because it was. You could get cheap land because they'd taken it from the natives. But this whole slavery thing was happening, and so John Brown's son writes him a letter saying, "Hey, we're trying to deal with the pro-slavery forces down here. Can you send weapons?" And John Brown's like, "Real shit." And and what he does is he moves to Kansas. He's like, "You got slavers down there?"
Let's go fucking.
Yeah, he's like, and he moves his family out to Kansas. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. And so, and it's and so so after this sack of Lawrence, Kansas, like a couple weeks later, it's in May of 1856. You've got
a few years overdue.
Shut up.
So you've got what's known as the Potawatomi massacre. And so John Brown and 4 of his sons, which were Owen, Frederick, Oliver, and Salmon Brown.
Salmon?
John.
Salmon.
What's wrong with you, buddy? Why'd you do that to your son?
And then his son-in-law and these 2 other dudes, they snuck into a pro-slavery settlement on the Potawatomi River with a couple of people who were probably involved in the sack. What?
I know this is so lit.
Sediment.
Yeah, no, but so they break into one of these houses. They take this pro-slavery guy and 2 of his sons out in the woods, and they hack him apart with broadswords.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like they have guns.
3 more hours.
They have sons, but they have guns, but they just go out and just like chop these dudes up with swords.
Fair.
Well, yeah, it's like I said on that last episode. Like, yeah, John Brown and his gang, like they're wielding swords, fighting for what they say God is telling them to end slavery. Like, yeah, they're paladins. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet.
I don't know.
Anti-slavery
If it's
paladins.
broadswords, they're probably berserkers.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. So and they
They're
fight.
paladins,
Sandy.
but they're not monarchists.
And so they get the postmaster in the settlement who's also pro-slavery. They cut that guy apart. They found another group and they interrogate them.
Get back, motherfucker!
Yeah, no, and so they find this other group of people. Well, and so what's interesting is all this time they're pulling out these people, but like their wives and children are there, and they leave their wives and children intact unless their children are adults and involved in the slavery, like some of these guys were. But like they left all of the people who they didn't view as implicit. They were like, "You're part of the slavery folks." Just like chop these dudes up. No, but so yeah, they get slave master, and then this other group, they interrogate them. They're like, "Were you involved in the sack in Lawrence?" They're like, "No," and like they interrogate them.
Yes, whatever you think.
Well, no, they interrogate them and they're satisfied, and they let 2 of them go, and then they kill the other one with a sword. And at some point, so John Brown didn't kill any of these people for whatever it's worth, which is he shot one of them to make sure he was dead.
He was in the background going, "Do it."
Well, no. So here's the thing: he didn't do any of it, but like later on, they were talking to him about it, and like he said, and I quote, "I approved of it."
Hey.
So he's there.
Wait, you mean he didn't just sit there and say unlimited power?
No, he just was not like fist bumping his like sons as they would hack these slave owners apart.
He's the guy yelling air horn noises.
Yeah, he's like. Are you a slave owner? Yeah. From the background, muffled air horn noises. So
The air horn is historical, and if you believe otherwise, this is not the podcast for you.
yeah, and then so a couple weeks later, so some pro-slavery forces from the region, they had heard about the Potawatomi massacre, and they found out that some of John Brown's kids were involved, and so they kidnap two of Brown's sons, and they're holding them in this camp. They're like, we're gonna figure out what to do with these guys. And so Brown gets together 30 dudes, like with guns, and they basically siege this camp for it's like 3 hours, just like trading gunfire. It's a 3-hour gun battle until Brown's forces capture this the leader of these pro-slavery forces and like 21 of his men. Like they surrender after just getting owned for 3 hours. And then Brown releases them in exchange for getting his sons out. But then and then so later that year in August, you've got the Osawatomie. It's another river. It's a company of 300 pro-slavery Missourians. They marched for Osawatomie, where there were a couple of like free state settlements, and they attack him and they kill John Brown's son Frederick. And so John Brown is like
Friedrich
Brown. Yeah, sorry.
Friedrich Braun. Eva Braun.
Ja, das ist Friedrich.
Yes, sorry.
God damn it.
Owned. No, but
Mein Name ist Friedrich.
So Brown and 38 dudes, they attack from cover. They kill like 20 of these troops. They wound 40 of them. And it starts to give John Brown this reputation amongst the northern abolitionists. Is like, this John Brown guy is legit. Like, he's a hero. So then the new so then Kansas Territory gets a new governor, and he kind of enforces a peace through some various political compromises. So John Brown goes to New England, and he's like, I got to start raising some money. We got to deal with this slavery shit. So he goes to New England, and what?
He finds Soros.
So there's this group called the Secret Six, which is six or a couple wealthy New Englanders, but then a couple just influential ones that he gets support and resources from. And so he gets some money, so he custom orders from this guy in Connecticut 1,000 pikes, like made with Bowie knives. Or is it Bowie knives?
But yeah, whatever.
No, it's Bowie.
Yeah, Bowie knives. So like pikes made with those. Like he orders 1,000 of them. He's like, we're gonna give these to the slaves. It's gonna be
wild.
Yeah, and and so he meets this English mercenary named Hugh Forbes, who had military experience from the Italian Civil War, and so he hires this guy as a tactician. He's like, listen, so just say hypothetically, I was gonna try to like lead a revolt of slaves and end slavery. How would hypothetically we go about this? And so they come up with all these plans and start putting together all these tactics. And so Forbes didn't. So John Brown's plan for this was they were going to go through the South, free slaves, and the slaves were going to join them and like build their ranks. And so Forbes was like, we can't rely on the slaves to do that. Like, I don't like this tactic. And so eventually they broke him and John Brown like split apart, and Forbes started writing him and all his funders letters. They were like, this shit sucks. Don't do this. I'm mad at you. I need you to pay me. And then like, he starts to like make a big deal of it. Like he writes a letter to somebody in the government. Like, listen, they're gonna raid an armory in New England. I don't know exactly which one, but like you got to send some troops. And so so basically what happens is it costs John Brown a bunch of time because he has to go to Kansas to deal with this guy. They were like, you go to Kansas and make it just like a personal thing so that like the big plan doesn't get blown.
Right.
So that people think it's just him being mad at this one dude, John Brown, as opposed to this plan for freeing the South.
Right.
So he starts amassing all these men, and to practice, I guess, he broke his group into two, and they go into Missouri. And they go on like a 1 or 2 night raid, and just they free 11 slaves at 3 different plantations. One of the groups, like, they blew away a slave owner during that process. And so they get these slaves, and what happens is they escort these slaves. They travel with them 1,000 miles up to Detroit, where they drop them off in Canada, where there was no slavery. But yeah, it's like he gets together a group and they bust into Missouri, like free a bunch of slaves, and then like literally walk them north up to freedom.
And Trudeau welcomed them with open arms. Come here.
Wearing his SS uniform.
Yikes! Yikes!
Covered in things that he had seized from the local natives.
Man, that guy just loves dressing up, doesn't he?
He does. He
Fidel Castro's son.
He's Fidel Castro's
He
son.
totally
Castro's
has
son.
to be.
He looks really.
He
He
looks
looks a lot
so
like
similar.
Castro.
Skinny Castro.
If only he could have taken his dad's politics.
I know, right? If only, yeah. So, and so after this happens,
The truth is out there, Ethan.
no, so they free these slaves and they bring them up north, and then President James Buchanan puts a bounty on John Brown's capture. He's like, yeah, you bring this guy in, like the government's gonna give you some money. So what they do after this is they start getting ready for a raid on Harper's Ferry in Virginia.
This is it.
So Harper's Ferry is so at the time it contained a rifle factory and an armory with an estimated like 100,000 rifles in it, and so he got together a group of it was like 20 dudes. They had like 16 white guys, 3 freed slaves, 3 free black men, 1 freed slave, and 1 current fugitive slave who was like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And so he had asked Harriet Tubman to help gather former slaves to like help this raid. The problem is they were planning on doing this like the year before, and there were a lot of people who were like, we'll commit forces, like we're gonna do this. But because he had to deal with this fucking guy, like his tactician, it delayed the thing like a year, and so they lost some of that support. So they went in with fewer people than they needed, and so he rented out this farmhouse, and they were all like hanging out in the attic for like 2 weeks, just like waiting for the time. And so then, Harper's Ferry, they bust into the town in like late at night, and they start. Their goal was to basically get into the armory, like seize all the weapons, take control, like and blockade the town, and then the idea was that word would spread to the plantations because there were a lot of like tobacco plantations and stuff nearby in Virginia. The idea would spread to the plantations that like, hey, it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, come here, we have weapons, like we're gonna do it. But then the word didn't really get out because they didn't have enough forces to like send. So they captured the town. They like killed a couple of people. They killed the mayor of the town. But then they got pinned in the armory by the well-regulated militia of Harper's Ferry.
Well done, Second Amendment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't think that's what the fuck it was always about, then...
That's always what it's about.
Yeah, and then, and so when on their way in, they cut the telegraph lines so that no one would be able to telegraph for help. But like word spread pretty quickly once shit started popping off, and then the government sent in troops. They sent in a group of U.S. Marines led by a Colonel Robert E. Lee.
John Brown is braver than any U.S. Marine.
Yes, 100%.
Fucking entirely.
100%. Yeah, and so by the time they get there, like this 22-man army, the militia had already killed 8 of them, and they were just holed up in this armory until like at one point Brown sent one of his sons and one of these other guys out with a white flag to say, hey, like we're fucked here, like let's talk some terms. The government killed his son and this other guy when they surrendered, and so then the Marines get in, they bust in, they like 10 of like almost half of Brown's militia gets killed, including like both of his sons who he brought along. And they capture 7 of them, and then 5 of them escaped. So John Brown got shot at this point. Like he was pretty seriously wounded at this point. But so they move him to Charleston, where they put him on trial for I think it was treason or sedition or something. It was Virginia versus John Brown. It's a legal court case on the books. but it was a long trial, and they start in publicizing it. He became really he became kind of famous in the North. Like a lot of Northern abolitionists were like, "Damn, this guy's a hero." But then there were also thousands of Northerners who were like the North states that don't have slavery. They were like, "Oh, we condemn his violence. Like, oh, this is not the right
sides.
Yeah,
Both sides.
this is not the right way to bring about political change.
Electoral
It's
politics.
incremental." And and so, and like this little guy named Abraham Lincoln, he called the raid absurd, and he condemned John Brown's violence, bloodshed, and treason.
Ooh.
And so basically, yeah.
Moral of the story:
Well, no, but so here's the thing. So during this,
Lincoln's a fuck.
yeah. Lincoln is a fuck. 200, 800 million dead Confederates. No, so then, no, and so he's got these statement, like they have his last speech on.
On audiobook.
Yeah, exactly. No, we're gonna Hyder's gonna record it. and release it.
Sponsored by Audible.com.
No, basically what he said was, in my first place, I deny everything but what I have all along admitted, the design on my part to free the slaves. And he was saying that, had I interfered in the manner which I admit, and which I admit has been fairly proved, for I admire the truthfulness and candor of the greater portion of the witnesses, had I so interfered in behalf of the rich, the powerful, the intelligent, the so-called great, or in behalf of any of their friends, either father, mother, brother, sister, wife, or children, or any of that class, and suffered and sacrificed what I have in this interference, it would have been all right. And every man in this court would have deemed it an act worthy of reward rather than punishment.
Shit.
And yeah.
Dude.
And so he says, this court acknowledges, I suppose, the validity of the law of God. I see a book kissed here, which I think is the Bible. And so he's talking about, like, I did this because I'm a Christian. I read this in the Bible. If you guys claim to be Christians, like, fuck off. And then he says, now, if it is deemed necessary that I should forfeit my life for the furtherance of the ends of justice and mingle my blood further with the blood of my children and with the blood of millions in this slave country whose rights are disregarded by wicked, cruel, and unjust enactments, I submit, so let it be done.
Damn.
Yeah, and then yeah, and later on he says, like, I didn't coerce anybody. Like, everyone who helped me, nobody was like being kidnapped, forced at gunpoint to help me. Like,
It reminds me of like the fucking speech the dude gave at the like Haymarket affair when he was being tried or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I fucking did it, and I'd do it again."
well, no, and that's
He was the one that didn't even do anything.
Yeah,
He
you're
was
right.
The pacifist.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
He was like, "I wish I'd done any of the
Yeah,
things you
yeah.
said I did,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
fully fucking support him, but I wasn't there, you fucking assholes."
yeah. Well, and there's like a letter from John Brown to somebody where he's saying, like, I am 100% certain
Yeah.
that he says the crimes of this country will only be cleared with blood.
History will absolve me.
Yeah, basically, cancel me. It does not matter. History will stand me.
History will stand me.
Well, and the thing is that for like 100 years, John Brown was written off as just like, oh yeah, he was this crazy, he was a terrorist, he was
Sure.
crazy. But then like in the 40s and 50s, getting near the centennial of his death, people started to be like,
Actually,
This
John
dude
Brown
was
was right.
popping
legit,
off.
like John Brown was legit. And then like it's it's fairly standard practice in history to attribute the Harper's Ferry raid and John Brown to kind of heightening the tension and creating the Civil War,
Right.
which was for states' rights to
Yeah.
own slaves.
Right.
The Civil War obviously is a super complicated topic, and there's a lot going on there. But like,
We could do a whole episode on that.
you
No,
literally
it was
could
about slaves, right?
states' rights.
Who won that one? Sorry.
America.
KKK. No, but so historians will, in general, like they'll agree that it basically is set off a chain of events that led to the Civil War happening, which did result in the abolition of most slavery in the United States, like chattel plantation slavery.
For at least for most people, there
for-
was some,
well, right.
like, there was like
Yeah, there were exceptions here and there. Like
could
we're
do a whole
still
episode on
fucking
this.
trying to deal with that.
Yeah.
But like the Civil War was about. It was explicitly. I mean, there were a lot of factors involved, but the biggest one, most people fighting were trying to either tear down or uphold slavery.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a controversial view.
No.
If you actually look at the most basic thing, you'll have people be like, well, the Confederacy wasn't actually about slavery, when their fucking constitution
Yes.
includes, like, we're separating so we can do slavery.
Right. It was.
Oh,
state,
I have
it was,
I have a counter argument to that. I had that one recently. A trot said that just because that the USSR was progressive in its constitution doesn't mean that it was enforced. So, God,
Christ.
Oh my
you can
god.
just say
Martin,
that
just
something
stop
wasn't
defending
enforced,
Trots, please.
and then
I
we
don't want to
can
hear any
pretend.
more about your defensive Trotskyists or
so insane.
That's terrible.
God
I hate
damn.
that.
Can you
actually.
imagine, like, if you're just like, oh no, I have to
Unironically.
prove also that it was enforced in addition to.
Imagine being a Trotskyist.
So-
Imagine being a Trotskyist in
Yeah,
2018.
but what is definitely controversial? I mean, not within the history books, but the motivation for the North wasn't solely we want to free slaves.
No. I said that it's not like there were a lot of things going on. There's a lot of capital interests. Like it's a complicated geopolitical and economic thing.
Oh, well, I mean,
it was the economic
Lincoln wasn't-
disparity
yeah.
between the
Lincoln
South
wanted all
and the
the
North.
fucking.
Yeah.
all the
Lincoln
wanted all
wasn't
the
a fucking
slaves-
abolitionist.
You want all the slaves to go to Africa.
Yeah.
Dude, Lincoln was a
Hulu,
piece of shit.
Liberia.
Like,
He also said that if he could preserve the
Yes,
institution
without-
of slavery
yes,
without
yes.
dividing the Union, he would. But it was a matter of the northern states not being able to compete
Exactly.
economically
Exactly.
with the
Right.
southern states
Right.
because of slavery.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
like trying to attribute good intent to
Yeah.
Lincoln or the government, but there was a lot of the people who fought in the Civil War like were people who were inspired by John Brown, who did want to end
Well,
slavery.
And good for the North, the fucking 13th Amendment allowed slavery in prisons,
prisons,
because then they
yeah.
got slavery back.
Exactly. And we, like, literally in Colorado, we literally just got
Just
that out
now,
of our Constitution.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended slavery this fucking year.
Yeah.
and I think here's the thing is that, like, so John Brown dies, and then before the Civil War, or during the Civil War, this amazing hymnal song is written about
Oh,
him.
yeah.
And
Taylor's gonna sing it for
no, I will not sing it.
my
Hopefully,
guitar.
hopefully
We'll do it in the outro.
It'll be
yeah,
the outro
we'll do it in the
music. Pete
outro,
Seeger.
but we'll do the Pete Seeger version. But
The traffic
this
mix.
is written and Northern and abolitionist troops actually sing this actively about
Yes.
John Brown's
Yes. Yeah.
body. Like, this man has died, but his soul goes marching on.
Yeah.
Like, the armies, the people that fought against the Confederacy, actively believed in the abolition of slavery. There were so many black regiments. There were so many people that were dedicated to the ending of slavery in the South, that the people that fought do deserve their due credit. But again, yeah, the North as a whole was not looking for abolition as the sole purpose of this war.
Like, from a moral, like,
right, and that's the thing is
just
that you
perspective.
have people like John Brown who were dedicated to human liberation across all fronts, and then you have people like Abraham Lincoln who were there to fucking uphold the unionship of a fucking shit country
And
that
presided
has
over
shit
the
ideas.
largest mass execution in the history of the United States of Native Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He,
Oh, no,
he
it's
fucking
bad
like,
dude.
massacred indigenous people.
So
Yeah.
so if you can, man, if any of you out there have liberal friends who want to throw $1 at us just to fucking listen to
$3
PAD, it's
$3. You gotta pay $3.
$3 for
Wait.
Dad.
Liberals. So we have to speak their language, right? Cheeto man, bad.
yeah. So we'll just
Top
start.
hat man, bad.
We can just like edit this so there's Cheeto Man bad at the very beginning of the episode, and then they're like,
And then we
Oh,
talk
we
about
got
Harry
it,
Potter.
Yeah, and then I just
We
chopped
do.
it through it. Harry Potter is my favorite film, and no, but so the thing I was gonna say about John Brown is that so he popped up in U.S. discourse in like the '60s again because Malcolm X said, if white folks want to actually help this situation, they need to be more like old John Brown. And then people were like, what the fuck? Who's John Brown? And then people started to find out, like, oh, wow. Like, this is a guy who, was a white man, like, who, he saw the systems that he was complicit in and that were in his society, and he said, I'm not going to let this stand. I'm going to take up arms to end this. That's the only way it's going to happen. So he sacrificed his life for it, and I think that is something.
Lives, yeah.
Well, they made their own choice. Like, they made their own choices. They were adults. They were all adults.
They wouldn't have been there without him.
Well, sure, but no, I'm saying like his children were abolitionists on their own accord.
Sure.
No, but he made these sacrifices to end a horrific unjust system, and he sacrificed his life, and that's something that we have to look at as revolutionaries. Like, he made the ultimate sacrifice. Like, no, but like, here's the thing: like, he committed everything. He wasn't just saying. He wasn't just writing a newspaper about like, oh, abolition, oh, this is terrible. Like, he saw it, and he took up. He did the biggest thing he could think of. So John Brown was a hero. Like, John Brown is, like, fucking one of the realest dudes in American history. Like,
One of the few.
yeah, exactly. Like, most.
Abraham Lincoln, I sleep.
John Brown.
John Brown, real shit.
Yeah, I couldn't find. I have a shirt. It's got John Brown and it says "It ain't over" at the bottom. I was gonna wear it today, but I couldn't find it. John Brown, on Iraq support. Like, that guy is in heaven with Fidel, and
John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave.
And the thing is,
goddamn.
you've heard that song.
Brown's body lies
It's
a
the Battle Hymn of the
moldering-
Republic.
yeah.
It's just they were like, oh, the lyrics are a little too spicy. Let's get rid of the.
Tone it down.
Yeah, let's tone it down, and then it became the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Does it start as a John Brown song?
Wow.
Wow.
That tune was composed for John
I
Brown's
thought it
body.
was,
Yeah.
like, flipped
No.
the other way around.
Yeah, no, they
No.
made Battle Hymn of the Republic to like neuter the radical
Interesting.
content.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the end of DAD number 3. Seriously, thank
The
you to
Revenge
all
of
of
the
our
Sith.
what?
The Revenge of the Sith.
So-
DAD number 3, Revenge of the Sith. So this is the end of DAD 3. Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Sith, Revenge of the Trotskyists,
What are you
Machnoids,
talking
whatever.
about, Taylor?
I don't know.
Magnoids.
Machnoids.
All right.
Stalinoids.
Hey, thanks. Thanks everybody for making it through the entirety of Dialectics After Dark number 3. We hope you all enjoyed it. There's, I think, plenty of great stuff here. I think it's awesome. And honestly, I think that we're all humbled that you all actively put time and money into what we are doing.
I'm not.
100 emoji.
100 emoji entirely. It's mind blowing to I think all of us, and you're all extremely appreciated. And thanks for everything you do, all of our patrons.
problem.
We will put any kind of Martin, you're the best patron. I'm not gonna pick favorites, but for this episode, because you're on it, you're the best patron.
I'm a patron as well. I hope.
Well, this is like cheating because I was a patron, but he also lives where we record.
So anyway, we just want to throw that huge shout out to you guys. Anything that we have on John Brown or the things we talk about tonight, we'll throw up in the link. Yeah, I don't know what else do we have to say.
That's it.
Thanks. You
Bye.
guys fucking kick ass.
Bye.
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 Love you guys. Bye.
Gute Nacht.
Bye bye.
John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave, but his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. But his soul goes marching on. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down on the grave of old John Brown. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul goes marching on. He captured Harper's Ferry with his 19 men so true. He frightened old Virginia till she trembled through and through. They hanged him for a traitor, they themselves the traitor crew. His soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul goes marching on. Well, he's gone to be a soldier in the army of the Lord. He's gone to be a soldier in the army of the Lord. He's gone to be a soldier in the army of the Lord. But his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul goes marching on. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath is stored. He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.